price. Let's go to Bradley Beal, which is something that we talked about on our last episode. The Norman Powell for John Collins deal didn't make a ton of sense to us for the Clippers unless they were getting Bradley Beal. Indeed, that has come to pass. My guess is that when they did the Norman Powell deal, they probably had a good inclination that Bradley Beal was coming to Los Angeles. Bradley Beal has been bought out by the Phoenix Suns. The structure of that buyout, it looks like, is that it's going to be stretched over their books. The number that is currently slated for that, I believe, is 19.383 because of some offset money that is within there that the Clippers are paying, in addition to the fact that he gave back, what was it, 13, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Gave back 13 million in the buyout to get to the place that he wanted to go. So the Suns will have 19.38 million on their books for the next 5 years until 2029-30. They are out of the second apron. I believe that they are even out of the first apron currently, the Phoenix Suns. Like they are below the tax line right now, the Phoenix Suns. So they are in like a really good position to reset their books in a way that hopefully will help them as they continue to retool around Devin Booker. But let's talk about this from the Clippers perspective. Bradley Beal signs a deal that is 2 years, about $18 million. Or no, it's currently listed at 11, isn't it? But what is the number here? I thought it was 18. And Bradley has it at 11 right now.
Yeah, this has it at 10-9. Yeah, at 11.
Yeah, let me see here. No, it's 211. Yeah, it is 211. I thought it was 18. That's me. My bad. 211 for Bradley Beal. This is a home run of a contract with the Clippers. Like the thing we've been talking about all year with Bradley Beal.
Yep.
Is that he is still a good basketball player. It's just that it wasn't a great fit in Phoenix at the end of the day. In 53 games this year, Bradley Beal averaged 17 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and shot 49.7 from the field, 38.6 from 3, 80% from the line. Last year, Bradley Beal, 51, 43, 81. So in his 2 years in Phoenix, was pretty damn good as a shooter and played 53 games both seasons. One thing that I feel like I haven't seen a lot of people bring up about the Clippers, I know that the Kawhi thing gets like a lot of publicity in terms of like him being in and out of the lineup. But if you ask anybody around the league, like the team that has invested the most into like their medical staff and, all of their training staff and everything like that, it is absolutely the Clippers. Like they have done an amazing job of making sure that they have all of the recovery tools and everything necessary. And like Bradley Beal's played 53 games the last 2 years, right? Like he's played 50 in 2023, he played 40 in 2022, 60 in 2021, 57 in 2020. He played 77, 82, 82 before that, but he tends to miss 20 to 35 games a year is the reality of the Bradley Beal experience at this point. So getting a guy getting Bradley Beal to the situation that is the Clippers, I think is really important for him to be able to stay healthy, continue to be able to play on the court. In his 2 years in Phoenix, you're talking 50, 40, 81 on 17.6 points per game. I thought he gave more effort early in the season defensively. Like I thought he was better on that end defensively. I'm not going to sit here and try and make some case for Bradley Beal to be a great defender or anything, but he's like definitely still a starting quality NBA player. And I think that is what's lost in this. Yes, the contract was bad, but he's also still a valuable player, especially in this ecosystem where they have Chris Dunn for minutes to shield him defensively. You have Zubats on the interior with Brook Lopez defensively. You have Kawhi Leonard, who is still a good defender at the very least. You have Derek Jones Jr., who's like an active defender at the very least. Like, this team has some real bodies to be able to protect him on defense and just let him do what he's really good at. The final thing I'll say is, like, after the Norman Powell deal, in order to bring in John Collins, which is another deal that I think makes a lot of sense, honestly, especially for their backup units. We talked about that. If you run out like a staggered second unit of John Collins, Brook Lopez, Bradley Beal, Derek Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn. I mean, that's like a pretty nasty second unit. Like, it's hard for me to imagine most teams being able to match up with that second unit at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing with Bill is you're putting him in such an easier environment than what he was just in Phoenix, at the very least defensively. And you talked about all of the insulation he'll have there. Again, went back, looked through my notes and looked at things, talk about making second efforts on the defensive end. There's a Grizzlies game where Bradley Beal had to take the Ja Morant matchup. He will, if things,
like Bryce, early in the season,
yeah,
he was taking the toughest defensive assignment. I'm not sitting here saying it went great.
Sure.
But like, he gave effort and like had to at least like fight on that end of the court. And I thought showed some like real, again, I don't want to overstate what Bradley Beal is defensively. He's not a plus defender. He's probably not even like an average defender, but in this system, like, I think he's willing to fight, and that's all they really need.
That's what I said. Like, between the insulation of the players around him, the matchups he's going to have to take, just the culture of what it seems like the Clippers have built, the coaching of Ty Lue, not to throw shade at anything anywhere else, but it's like, I could just see us going, you know what? Chris Dunn's awesome. Zubats is awesome. Lopez is awesome. Kawhi is awesome. Derek Jones. You know what? Bradley Beal's been playing okay defensively. Like, I feel like that's what we're going to say 20 games into the Clippers season. And here's the other thing. He was expending that level of defensive energy, taking on those matchups, and still putting up the numbers you're talking about. I think when people look at this trade out, like, even if we just looked at it straight up, Norm Powell for Bradley Beal, like Norm Powell out of the starting lineup, Bradley Beal into the starting lineup, I think a lot of people would think, just off the dome, that was a huge downgrade. I think the only way that's a huge downgrade is when you talk about like potential games played. And that's a very fair conversation to be had. But when you talk about like on the court production, I don't know that Bradley Beal is going to be that far off of Norm Powell. Norm Powell averaged more points than Bradley Beal last year. He also took more shots than Bradley Beal last year.
Yeah.
I think this is a good situation for Beal, and I think defensively, I think it's a wash at the very least between those two guys. And at the end of the day, Sam, if Beal is only a touch less than Norm Powell, the addition of John Collins and the depth and the production that provides is more than worth taking the quote unquote downgrade from Norm Powell to Bradley Beal. Because if people want to say that, that's fine. I just don't think it's nearly the extent that some may think it is.
Look, I've seen some people online like use the DPM charts or whatever to say that like this is a huge downgrade, and like we need to stop using the DPM player comparison charts for like anything other than jokes. I'm not sitting here saying I really like DPM as a tool and as like a stat. Like, I think it's a valuable number to put into an equation, but it's just not the be all end all for this stuff, right? Norman Powell, it was in a great situation last year where he really got to like open up his game and attack a little bit more consistently. Bradley Beal hasn't really had that the last couple of years. And I think that getting more open shots for Beal will hopefully like really kind of jumpstart his game in a real way. And like, here's the other thing too. We can shit on James Harden's playoff performances all we want, right? And I think it's like reasonable to shit on James Harden's playoff performance.
It's probably fair, right? Like it is,
yeah.
But he had a great regular season.
And he makes guys better.
Yeah.
He does consistently make guys better basketball players. And as long as that continues to be true, I think we're probably going to see a real bump for Bradley Beal this year in terms of his overall like efficiency, I'm not going to sit here and say that, again, Beal's going to be some like all-star caliber player. I don't really see that at this point. I do think that he's probably going to look pretty similar to what Norman Powell did this past year.
Yeah, I mean, Norman Powell averaged 22 last year, had an incredible season. I just think if you, again, here's the important caveat, and it seems like this is a common theme here. The games played is a real conversation with this now, because
so is it like Norm misses games?
No, for sure, but like it's his last three are 60, 76, 60. Beal's last three are 53, 53, 50, 40 the year before that. Norm did have a year where he only played 45, switched teams. I think it's a fair thing to bring up, Sam, because while I think Bradley Beal could average 20 a game, which is only a couple less than Norm Powell on similar efficiency that Norm Powell had last year, if he only plays 45 games, that is a major downgrade based even from 60 games that Norm Powell gave you. So I think it's fair to bring up. I guess my point is, and why I keep saying it is, I'm more willing to listen to that. I mean, I'll listen to whatever. I'm always about the conversation, but I'm more okay with that argument than I am, this is a crazy downgrade on the offensive end. Like I don't see that, Sam. I don't think it's going to be that crazy of a downgrade on the offensive end from what we saw of Norm Powell last year to what I think Bradley Beal can be with this team.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't think it's going to be some like massive number. Like people will look at, the EPM numbers or whatever, and Beal was like a slightly negative player and Powell was like a very, very positive player, right? The year before, Bradley Beal was, a very positive player, even in Phoenix, and Norman Powell was a negative player in LA. Norman Powell was a negative player the year before that in LA. He was a negative player the year before that in LA, right? Like, again, this isn't like shit on Norman Powell hour, who had like an amazing season last year. And I think deserves a ton of credit for what he brought to the table. I just also say that to say that, last year is not the only sample here. You know what I mean? Like Beal has consistently been like a very positive player. I would argue that the Clippers probably sold high and bought low here at the end of the day, which is typically what you want to do. If you're running a team, you want to sell high, you want to buy low. And I think they probably bought low on Beal, especially at the number at like $5.5 million. And look, we're looking at, selling high with Powell and bringing back John Collins, who is a useful, valuable player who makes a ton of sense with the team that they have.
So that's what I was going to say. Like that is the key X factor for me, is not only like this has to be looked at in its totality in terms of all of these moves. And if you want to look at last year, now again, games played only 40, but John Collins averaged 19 and 8 last year. Like you look at that front court rotation now, this team did not have a backup center. Like they were trying to play Ben Simmons as backup center last year, or, God bless him, Nicola Batum. Now they have not only Zubac, who may keep getting better, but Brook Lopez, who I think is an awesome switch up and can still play drop coverage. And you put him out there with guys like Chris Dunn that can navigate screens, and Derrick Jones Jr. and those type of guys. And now you can even go a little bit different if you want to play John Collins as a small ball 5, or if he's playing at I think he plays really nicely with Brook Lopez in the second unit because of Lopez's ability to space the floor. We talked about this. I even think him playing off of a Zubac short roll is interesting because of his corner 3-point shooting ability, cutting, offensive rebounding. I just think I look at this in totality, Sam, and maybe people will disagree with that. But as much as I love Norm Powell, in totality, I think making this decision was a no-brainer for the Clippers in terms of, hey, we can replace him with a $5 million Bradley Beal and also get yet another front court rotation piece, the likes of John Collins. And we gave up no draft capital. Like we didn't give anything up. We traded out Norm Powell for Bradley Beal and John Collins. Like that is kind of essentially what they had to do here. I think you do that 10 times out of 10, in my opinion.
Yeah, and look, this is a team that like doesn't have a ton of draft capital left at the end of the day. So to be able to do that is creative, I think, and pretty smart, honestly. I like what they've done here. And I do think this is a better team. Like, I think that this team, I would have them fourth in the West right now. Like, I would probably, in the regular season, I would have them below Oklahoma City, Denver, and Houston.
Okay.
But I think they're like in the, like, to me, like, that's the 4 right now. Like, I would have them ahead of Minnesota, and maybe I'm crazy about that. Like, in the regular season, like, God knows that health will play a huge factor for this team, right? Like, on paper in the regular season, I really like what the Clippers have built, and I would probably have them fourth at this point.
I'm with you. I would, again, I don't want to get too much into this stuff. Like, I'm gonna have to really look through it. Considering health, I wish I believed in the playoff acumen of some of this, but like, I'm kind of scary hours with how high I am on the Clippers. Like, I liked them last year. I started beating that drum during the middle of the season. Like, hey, this is a sneaky, interesting team. Harden fooled me in the playoffs. So if I pick them again, that's on me. Well, I should have already known. That's already on me. But I do think they got better in terms of what they added. They are very old. The other thing is, like, they have continue to keep their flexibility moving forward, right? Like, even the Beal deal is only 2 years. The Brook Lopez deal, only 2 years, including, like, they have club option even on top of that. They're still very much set up to have cap space, essentially as much as they want in the summer of 2027 when the Kawhi deal comes off the book. So they have continued to keep that longer term. That's not crazy far out, but they have kept that 2 years out flexibility that it seems like they've wanted to play to when the Kawhi deal is over.
Final note here. They also just have a ton of, like, team options next year, right? Where Bogdan, I think, has like a slight guarantee, or maybe not.
No,
maybe that is
straight club guaranteed. Straight
team option. So, like, he's on an expiring deal. Brook Lopez on an expiring deal, because that's a team option in 2026-27. Nick Batum, that's an expiring deal, team option in 2026-27. They have the money to, like, really go get somebody if they want to.
Yeah, that's true. So, like I said, 27, it can happen sooner, right? Because John Collins is also an expiring contract. And so, yeah, like they could be players next offseason if they really wanted to. So
I guess my point is that, like, if they wanted to combine Bogdan and John Collins,
get somebody at the deadline that,
they have $43 million of expiring salary in 2 guys. And they have the thing that we often talk about on this show is, like, trade flexibility, right? So they have the ability to combine 2 guys in John Collins and Bogdan and get up to 43 million, which is a great number. They have the, kind of mid-tier, like 30 million level starter, right? With John Collins and, Nick Batum, if you want to do that. They have, the Bogdan Bogdanovic deal at 16 million, which is expiring money. They have lower end money that's expiring. The Chris Dunn money is, expiring as well. I think Chris is a really valuable player, but I'm just saying that they have real flexibility to be able to kind of go get anybody on the market as well, which I think is really useful too. So, okay.
Real quick, we talk a lot about not having those middle tier contracts. And so them having that on an expiring, to your point, is really important for versatility.
Really, really valuable. Really, really valuable, I think.